Today we are dealing with fourth chapter of 7th NCERT Geography. The chapter name is Air. Our earth is surrounded by a huge blanket of air called atmosphere. So whatever air blanket we have around the earth, we call it as atmosphere. All living beings on this earth depends on the atmosphere for their survival. So how they are dependent, we'll see. It provides as the air we breathe and protect us from harmful effect of a sun's rays. There are two works here, major works. One is for breathing air, one more is protecting from the sun rays. How is it protecting? Without this heat of the sun during day and without blanket of protection, we would be baked alive by the heat of the sun during the day and get frozen during the night. So it is this mass of air that has made the temperature on the earth livable. So if there is no blanket of air, so direct sun rays will enter earth. If there is no atmosphere, then it will heat up the earth too much in the morning, and in the night everything will be transported back to sky or re-radiated to sky, so that it will be earth is frozen. So because of blanket of air, when air is entering, some of the air is absorbed here, heat is absorbed here, and then remaining heat, that is mostly 55% of heat, will enter the earth surface. So when it is returning back also, some of the heat is retained in the atmosphere, remaining will be re-radiated. So that's how it is kind of maintaining the earth's temperature. Composition of the earth atmosphere. Do you know that the air we take in while breathing is actually a mixture of many gases? Nitrogen and oxygen are two gases which make up the bulk of the atmosphere. So major components of atmosphere is nitrogen and oxygen. Carbon dioxide, helium, ozone, argon and hydrogen are found in lesser quantities. Okay. Apart from these gases, tiny dust particles are also present in the air. The pie chart gives you the percentage of different constituents of air. Nitrogen is the most plentiful gas in the air. When we inhale, we take some amount of nitrogen into our lungs and exhale it. But plants need nitrogen for their survival. They cannot take nitrogen directly from the air. Bacteria that live in the soil and roots of some plants take nitrogen from the air and change its form so that plants can use it. Okay. So pie chart, if you see, nitrogen is 78% and oxygen is 21%. So remaining things we have argon, lesser quantity, and then comes carbon dioxide. So nitrogen, oxygen, argon, carbon dioxide and other gases. Okay. 0.3% is carbon dioxide. Okay. Yeah. So whenever we inhale, we also inhale nitrogen as well as oxygen. However, we will exhale nitrogen. But in case of plants will retain nitrogen but not as a gas. They want it as a nitrates. So some bacteria in the root helps the plants to get the nitrogen. Oxygen is the second most plentiful gas in the air. Humans and animals take oxygen from the air as they breathe. Green plants produce oxygen during photosynthesis. In this way, oxygen content in the air remains constant. If we cut trees, then this balance gets disturbed. See, animals need oxygen and plants will give oxygen. If you cut the plants, from where will you get oxygen that animals needs? That is where the balance get disturbed. Carbon dioxide is another important gas. Green plants use carbon dioxide to make their food and release oxygen. Okay. So humans or animals release carbon dioxide. The amount of carbon dioxide released by the humans and animals seems to be equal to the amount used by the plants, which make a perfect balance. However, the balance is upset by burning of fuels such as coal and oil. They add billions of tons of carbon dioxide into atmosphere each year. As a result, the increased volume of carbon dioxide is affecting the earth weather and climate. So, plants produce how much ever oxygen needed for animals. If you are cutting plants, you won't get the oxygen that is needed. Balance is disturbed. And then animal release carbon dioxide how much ever it is required for the plants. But because of fossil fuels and industrial emissions, excess carbon dioxide is released, making an environment imbalance. Okay. Structure of the atmosphere. Our atmosphere is divided into 5 layers starting from Earth's surface. These are troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere and exospheres. There are 5 layers and the layers are like this. Troposphere, see here you can see. This picture exactly explains. This is troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere and exosphere. Now we will see in depth. Okay. So troposphere, this layer is the most important layer of the atmosphere. Its average height is 13 kilometers. The air we breathe exists here. So why it is most important? Because whatever we are breathing, right? This air is from troposphere. Almost all the weather phenomena like rainfall, fog, hailstorm, everything occurs from this layer. Then we have stratosphere. Above the troposphere lies the stratosphere. It extends up to 50 kilometers. This layer is almost free from clouds and associated weather phenomena, making condition most ideal for flying aeroplanes. That's why aeroplanes will fly here. See, if you see, this is troposphere. Here we have clouds and air we breathe, etc. In stratosphere we don't have clouds. That's why aeroplanes will fly here. One important feature of the stratosphere is that it contains a layer of a ozone gas. We have just learned how it protects us from a harmful effect of a sun rays. So it also contains ozone layer which will protect from harmful environment of UV rays. Okay. Next we have a mesosphere. The next one. See, the next one. This is temperature line. So as we go up on troposphere, temperature reduces, and then to stratosphere increases, mesosphere reduces, exosphere increases. Okay. So mesosphere, this is the third layer of the atmosphere. It lies above the stratosphere. It extends up to 80 kilometers. We have seen 35 kilometers of stratosphere, 50 kilometers of troposphere and 80 kilometers of mesosphere. Meteorite from burn up in this layer on entering from the space. So we know from solar system we learned there are meteorites in solar system. When they enter this mesosphere, because their temperature is almost 0 degree, whereas meteorite will be having high temperature and the low temperature will burn each other. Okay. Then we have thermosphere. In thermosphere, temperature rises very rapidly with increasing height. Ionosphere is a part of this layer. So ionosphere is also part of thermosphere. It extends between 80 to 400 kilometers. This layer helps in radio transmission. Which sphere should we go for radio transmission? Ionosphere. In fact, radio waves transmitted from the earth are reflected back to the earth by this layer. Okay, from ionosphere. Exosphere, the uppermost layer of the atmosphere is known as exosphere. This layer has very thin air. Light gases like helium and hydrogen float into space. So here we have very less gas, mostly helium and hydrogen. So weather and climate. So if you see this, you should remember troposphere. Weather and climate, right? We'll see. It is going to rain today. Is it going? So will it be bright and sunny today? How many times have we heard this from anxious cricket fans speculating the fate of one-day match? If we imagine our body to be a radio and the mind its speaker, weather is something that fiddles with its control knobs. Weather is this 4 to hour day-to-day condition of the atmosphere. Weather is like day-to-day or hour-to-hour condition. A hot or humid weather may make one irritable. A pleasant, breezy weather may make one cheerful and even plan for an outing. Weather can change dramatically from day to day. However, the average weather condition of a place for a long period of time represents the climate. So, climate is a bigger term. It's the average weather conditions, okay, of a place. Now, do you understand why we have daily weather forecast? So, we will be having weather forecast, not climate forecast every day, right? Temperature. The temperature you feel every day is the temperature of the atmosphere. The degree of hotness and coldness of the air is known as temperature. What is temperature? Degree of hotness or coldness of a air. It's about atmosphere, okay? The temperature of the atmosphere changes not only between day and night but also from season to season. So temperature will change season to season, even not like day to night. We know this. Summers are hotter than winters. An important factor that influences the distribution of temperature is insolation. So, the important factor which influences the difference of temperature, this hotness and coldness, is insolation. What is insolation? It is incoming solar energy intercepted by Earth. Okay. So, it's a incoming solar energy. The amount of insolation decreases from equator towards the poles. If you see here, let us consider this as the earth and this as sun. If this is equator, see, equator will be having a straight rays, vertical rays. When you go to poles, you have a slant rays. So, less temperature, less insolation, more insolation on the equator. So, insolation is directly proportional to latitude. Inversely proportional to latitude, okay. Why? Because if more insolation, that means it's a lesser latitude, right? So if it is more insolation in the lesser latitudes. So the amount of insolation decreases from the equator towards the pole. Therefore, the temperature decreases in the same manner. Now, do you understand why poles are covered with the snow? So that is the reason, right? If the earth's temperature rises too high, it would become too warm for some crops to grow. Temperature in cities is much higher than that of villages. The concrete and metals in buildings and the asphalt of roads get heated up during the day. This heat is released during the night. So you understood why it is more hotter in the cities, because of their metal usage and the concrete. So those will retain the heat and then release in the night. That's why it is very hotter. Also, the crowded high-rise building of a cities trap the warm air and thus rise the temperature of a cities. Now we have air pressure. You will be surprised to know that air above us presses us with a great force on our bodies. So this force of pressing is a pressure, right? So however, we don't even feel it. This is because the air presses us from all directions and our body exerts a counter pressure. Okay? Air pressure is defined as the pressure exerted by the weight of air on the earth's surface. So it's the pressure exerted by the air on the earth's surface. As we go up the layers of atmosphere, the pressure falls rapidly. The air pressure is highest at a sea level and decreases with height. So with the height it will decrease. So air pressure is inversely proportional to altitude. Okay? Because as you move up, you have less air. Okay? In areas where temperature is very high, the air gets heated and rises. This created a low pressure area. Low pressure is created with cloudy skies and wet weathers. It is associated with this. Okay. So whenever there is more temperature, air will get heated and it will go up and form a cloud. That's why it will be having a cloudy sky and wet weather. Okay. In areas having lower temperature, the air is cold. It is therefore heavy. Heavy air sinks and creates a high pressure area. High pressure is associated with clear sky and sunny skies. So the air always moves from high pressure to low pressure. Whenever air moves from high pressure to low pressure, high pressure in the sense low temperature to high temperature. Okay, fine, low temperature to high temperature. Okay, so the next is wind. The movement of a air from high pressure area to low pressure area is called wind. What is wind? Movement of a air from high pressure to low pressure. You can see wind at work as it blows dry leaves down the pavement or uproots trees during a storm. Sometimes when the wind blows gently, you can even see it blowing away smoke or fine dust. At times, wind can be so strong that it is difficult to walk against it. You must have experienced it. Not easy to hold an umbrella on a windy day. Think of some other example when strong winds have created problem for you. Winds can be broadly divided into three types. So there are three types of winds: permanent winds, seasonal winds, and local winds. So important point to be noted: permanent winds, the trade winds, westerlies and easterlies are permanent winds. These blow constantly throughout the year in a particular direction. Why it is permanent? In a particular direction it will be constantly flowing. What are those? Westerlies and easterlies. Okay, if you see here, you have a permanent winds, that is trade winds, westerlies, and westerlies are flowing. This is the equator. So this pressure belt is called as doldrum. Okay, it is a equatorial low pressure area, and this is having a low pressure. So from high pressure it has to move to low pressure, right? The wind. So if you see, this is subtropical low, and again we have subpolar subtropical high pressure, subtropical or subpolar low pressure, and then the high pressure poles. Okay, this is the thing. So from high pressure subtropic it should move to equator. So these winds are called as the trade winds. From northern hemisphere it is coming, so northern trade winds, southern trade winds. After that for this subpolar low pressure, from subtropical high pressure we get a prevailing westerlies. Okay, from poles we get easterlies, polar easterlies. So subtropical high pressure belt is also called as horse latitude. Okay, then we have seasonal winds. These winds change their direction in different seasons. For example, monsoon winds. So they change the direction. Seasonal winds. Winds, these blow only during a particular period of day or year in a small area. For example, land and sea breeze. So these are local winds for particular period, day and night or year. Okay, do you recall hot and dry local wind of a northern plains of India? It is Lu. So one such is Lu. It's a hot, dry and local wind. Okay, so now they explained a little on we have cyclone. We'll see it. Before that we'll complete this. When weather evaporates from land and when water evaporates from land and different water bodies, it becomes water vapor. Moisture in the air at any time is known as humidity. So moisture in the air is known as humidity. Why it is caused? Because of evaporation. Okay, when the air is full of water vapor, we call it as humid day. As the air gets warmer, its capacity to hold the water vapor increases. So if it is warmer, it will hold more water, and so it becomes more and more humid. On a humid day, clothes take longer to dry, and sweat from our body does not evaporate easily, making us feel very uncomfortable. When the water vapor rises, it starts cooling. As we have seen, temperature is inversely proportional to altitude, right? So when the water vapor rises, it starts cooling. The water vapor condenses, causing formation of droplets of water. Clouds are just masses of such water droplets. So these are formed as clouds. When these droplets of water become too heavy to float in air, then they come down as precipitation. If it is too heavy, then precipitation, that is rain. Jet planes flying in the sky leaves a white tail behind them. The moisture from their engines condenses. We see tail of this condensed moisture for some time when there is no air movement to disturb it. So understood why jet will leave a white tail, because the moisture from the jet will be condensed. Precipitation that comes down to the earth in liquid form is called as rain. Most of the groundwater comes from rainwater. Plants help preserve water. When trees on hills sides are cut, rainwater flows down the bare mountain and can cause flooding of a low-lying area. On the basis of mechanism, there are three types of rainfall: the conventional rainfall, orographic rainfall, and cyclonic rainfall. So there are on the basis of mechanism three types: conventional, orographic, and cyclonic. Rainfall is very important for survival of plants and animals. It brings fresh water to the earth's surface. If rainfall is less, water scarcity and droughts occur. Okay. On the other hand, if it is more, floods takes place. So this is all about the rain also. Mostly we have completed. We'll see the cyclone. Cyclone, nature's fury. Odisha, located on the eastern sea coast of India, is prone to cyclones that originate in the Bay of Bengal on 17-18 October 1999. Cyclone hit 5 districts of the state. Another super cyclone occurred on the 29 October 1999 that devastated large portion of the state. The damages caused were mainly due to three factors: wind velocity, rain, and tidal surge. The winds of up to 260 km per hour lasted for over 36 hours. These high velocity winds uprooted trees and damaged the kacha houses. Rooftop of several industrial sheds and other houses were also blown away. Power supply and telecom lines snapped completely. Heavy rain occurred under the influence of a cyclone for 3 days continuously. These rains led to flooding in the major rivers of Odisha. The cyclonic winds caused tidal waves that swept 20 km inland and brought massive destruction to the coastal areas. The 7 to 10 meter high tidal wave intruded suddenly and caused massive damage to the standing paddy crops. The cyclone originated as a depression in the Gulf of Thailand near east of Port Blair on 25th October 1999 and gradually moved in a northwestward direction. It intensified into supercyclone and hit the area between Yerasama and Balikhuda in Odisha on 29 October at 10:30 am. The supercyclone swept the entire coast of Odisha, including the cities of Bhubaneswar and Cuttack and 28 coastal towns. About 13 million people were affected. A large number of livestock were killed due to salinization caused by tidal surge. Large tracts of agricultural plantations have disappeared. The mangrove forest between Paradip and Konark vanished. So here it is an article on cyclone. So just explained about the devastating effects that cyclone caused in Odisha. So but there is a specified chapter for cyclones. Moving forward, we will relearn and re-look into the same case study again, so that we will be learning in depth than like now roughly covering it. So this is all for today. We'll get back with a new chapter tomorrow.